This is the very first live CEO case studies, certainly at XPX New England, and maybe the first in Massachusetts, and maybe the first, whatever.
In the world.
In the world, exactly. Each CEO is going to be talking about what they just heard. And at 2:50, we'll come back here. The CEOs will share what they have learned and the 3 key points they're going to take back to their office and get done hopefully by July 11th when we will meet again.
Good afternoon. My name is Arthur Barrett. I'm president of Barrett Distribution Centers. My company has been evolving from retail support to doing direct-to-consumer e-commerce fulfillment. I'd like to say that I had the vision of the Boston Globe putting an article on the front page of the business section 2 days ago about the use of robotics in fulfillment centers, but that would be a complete lie. But we are looking at the technology, and I'm very fortunate to have this team of consultants to help me evaluate how that might help us to overcome a shortage of available labor in the warehouse industry. Some of that is the result of competing against Amazon, not so much for customers, but competing against Amazon for workforce.
If you're the one on the group that's at least willing to pay something to them, you're going to stand ahead of everybody else. So just don't try to get everything for nothing, I'd say.
Okay.
Even when we were meeting some of Arthur's team, while they know they're not necessarily losing jobs, there's still a fear of of the unknown, of the risk. What does this all mean?
It's not replacing labor. It's basically filling a gap that you can't otherwise fill.
Right.
And in the essence, that's it. And so no one's job's at risk, and it may actually be saved on the conveyance piece.
My case study was about the evaluation of robotics, and my team helped me to understand that I don't necessarily need to guard against every risk. One of the greatest risks that I have as a sort of a fear is picking the wrong horse. I don't want to pick a horse that won't still be running the race 3 years from now or 7 years from now, and they helped me to understand that it's unlikely that I can figure that out, so stop trying to. So the 3 key takeaways for me: one is don't limit yourself to just the 2 or 3 that I have been evaluating, and if I've already made that decision, just don't let them know that. So continue to take a look at others and let the 3 that we're evaluating, let them know that there are plenty of options out there, and do enough pilot testing so that I can leverage the heck out of this opportunity and get the most favorable financial terms that I can for my application. At the same time, though, don't be trying to get it for free. So the leverage that I have is that the robotics companies, they are hungry for a success story. It's almost like they need my business more than I need their solution. But if I'm not willing to pay for it, then there's not much value there. So be willing to put some money on the line and put myself in a superior position with that chosen vendor. If this is going to be successful, this is technology that we're going to need to roll out to additional customers under the same roof and then additional distribution centers. So make sure that we have figured out that the robotics company can deliver additional robots on time as needed. And then the third point, I hadn't thought of it prior to the sit-down, but the HR aspect. So how do we position this so that our employees don't look at it as a risk that they'll be losing their jobs? So that's not the point of introducing the technology. We need to explain that we're really protecting us, the company, and protecting their future against a future labor shortage, and explain that we're all going to learn from this. So it's not going to be a perfect solution on day one, but we're looking for their help to help us figure out the answers. And so we're looking for your input. to make this successful. And lastly, for new employees. So I was looking at this as sort of an exciting, something to show existing customers and potential customers. It's also something exciting to show potential employees, because employees want to work for a company that is forward-thinking and has the latest technology. So that's an additional benefit that we certainly did not factor into our overall analysis. So it was really helpful. I'm glad I did it.
Thank you, Arthur. The company has grown substantially with an annual growth rate of 25% compounded annually over the past 5 years. Besides serving the 5 verticals and looking at services diversification in the future, and in order to continue with this aggressive growth, the company is contemplating robotic automation. The robotics they are considering is in the material handling sector and called Fetch and Freight Robotics. The challenge? Barrett has begun to investigate and evaluate the robotics automation solution. Barrett has evaluated 3 prototypes and signed NDAs and are now in the stage of due diligence and risk assessment. They do not anticipate any displacement of jobs. Rather, it will enable existing employees to increase their production so they can take on more business with the same existing headcount.
The biggest takeaway that I got from the event in May was how to negotiate the contract. And happy to report today that we did sign a contract with one of the robotics providers, and we included some pretty advantageous, but I would say fair, provisions in the contract where we've sort of capped any of the downside risk for ourselves, and at the same time we've layered into the economics of the commercial agreement part of the contract significant upside for ourselves and adequate upside for the robotics provider. So that's a long way of me getting to the point that, you know, we signed the contract. It's good for both sides. We are now highly motivated to push really hard on this next probably 5 months and prove by the end of the year that this is really going to be a long-term viable solution for us. In dealing with or hearing from my advisors, they helped me to arrive at understanding that there's a difference between productivity and production, and part of our motivation for going forward with robotics wasn't so much to improve productivity, which would be a lower cost per unit. You know, like I said earlier, that's just really a break-even proposition for us, but the advantage of the robotics is that it allows us to scale up during peak seasonal requirements and keep pace with, say, the Christmas crush from Black Friday to Christmas Eve, where we have a couple of customers that they do about 80% of their annual volume. One of them does 90% of the annual volume in that 4-week period, right? So that's a huge stress on our operation to hire that many people for such a short period of time when we are competing against Amazon. That's a really tough proposition. So this robotics technology, I think, you know, really can be a home run for us in Q4. And you know, it's scalable in such a way that when we're done with those robots in the 4th quarter, we can actually redeploy the robots to another operation in another city and take advantage of the technology for other customers that are counter-cyclical. In other words, they're heavy in the spring. I really think if I hadn't gone through the process in May, we'd probably still be trying to prove the economic viability of the robots instead of just leaping forward, getting a really good contract in place, and now really pushing the productivity to leverage that investment.